Walking on broken glass. What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. I had a dream last night. It always sounds weird starting a sentence off like that, but I had a dream last night. And in the dream, I stepped on a piece of broken glass, and I stepped on it, and I felt it, and then I looked down, I took the glass out, and it was just kind of barely stuck in my foot. There was no damage to it though, and I was going around the dream showing people, look, I stepped on broken glass and I'm fine. So when I woke up and I thought about the meaning of the dream, I don't know, it just felt like right to come on here and share. I get asked a lot about the dangers of being barefoot. What if you step on a needle? What if you step on broken glass? Cactus, all these different things. So I wanted to share some of my experience. So first off, I have stepped on broken glass before. I've not stepped on needles. I've not stepped on nails. I've stepped on cacti for sure. Now there's a lot of different components to this. And first off, if you're going barefoot for the first time or you're new to it, recognize that your foot is it's like a seed, and it's kind of covered and protected in some ways in a shoe. And when you take it out of the shoe, it becomes open. And at first, it's like a seedling. And if you allow it, if you water it, you care for it, and you not actually water it. I mean, you can water your foot if you want. But if you really take care of your foot and you nurture it, over time, it's going to get nice and strong to the point where you actually be able to walk on all kinds of surfaces, even hot surfaces, cold surfaces. I've been on hot pavement. I've been in freezing cold. I've been on ice and snow. But specifically to talk more about some of the more dangerous things. What I found is, yes, at first your foot is very susceptible to stuff. But now, this thing, which I think looks quite lovely, it has a really nice callus that's built up on it. It doesn't mean it's impervious to anything, but there's a couple pieces to this. So the callus helps for more superficial stuff. So let's say I'm walking around in a house barefoot, and you know how people break glass in Lord knows I have in kitchens. Well, I had a situation, and I talk about this more in my book, by the way, which is free to download in the link in my bio, my book about being barefoot. So there was a situation in Costa Rica where I broke glass, and usually, like back in the day when I wasn't barefoot, I would everyone's like, you put on shoes, everyone stop, put on shoes, and then you do your thing. This time, instead, I just stayed barefoot, and I was just cautious. If I step on a big piece of glass, yeah, there's a chance something could happen, especially if I'm running. But what I find is, first off, any little shards of glass, they're just gonna stick to the bottom of my foot. So after I was done cleaning up the glass in this incident, I looked at my foot and had little tiny bits of glass on it that was just kind of sitting right in the callus that didn't penetrate, and I was just able to brush it off. Now, bigger pieces of glass I always see, and the reason I see is because I'm very aware of where I'm walking. This also kind of plays into nails. I've never stepped on a nail, and the reason is because I'm aware of every single step that I take. People say, it's dangerous to be barefoot, and yes, there are things, but I find it's more dangerous often to be in a shoe because you think you're protected. And I've heard a lot of stories of people literally walking on nails because they have a shoe on. They're not paying attention. They step on a nail and it goes right through their shoe. Now, the thing about barefootness is that, barefootness, is that a word? When you take care of your foot, you start to develop this communication that you've probably lost. So if you put your foot in a shoe, we lose all the sensation on the bottom of our foot for the most part. So the foot has more nerve endings than anywhere else in the body. And when you're walking, you're sensing, and it's continually communicating with the rest of your body how to step, what it's picking up on, which means that it's completely aware of its steps and surroundings. So if I go to step on something sharp, I instantly know, and the rest of my body can brace the impact. So let's say I'm running, right, and I'm running and I hit a rock that's like sharp. Well, instead of just pushing my foot down and cutting my foot braces. So if it's like 2 feet of running, one foot, this foot's planted to the ground, this foot goes to take a step, and then it braces, and the rest of my body kind of falls very comfortably with it. So I'll feel the pain, but it's actually, the pain turns into sensation because it's more of a sense saying, hey, brace your foot. So instead of it just being this painful thing, it's like, I brace and I feel better. And so sharp things go as well. There's been a few instances, like I was in a bar recently for this tour. It was sort of a music venue, you could say. I'm rarely in places like that, let alone barefoot, and I was barefoot. And I stepped on a bigger piece of glass. It was dark, and probably maybe not the smartest place, admittedly, to be barefoot, but I felt comfortable. I stepped on the piece of glass, and immediately I braced my foot, and I looked down, and the glass, it was a bigger piece. I've never stepped on a piece that big. My foot was totally fine. So the mixture of the callus and the communication helped drastically. Going barefoot off trails a lot in the mountains, definitely step on cacti. I bring little tweezers with me. What I found with the cacti is they don't really hurt that much. They're just annoying when they get stuck in your foot. So having something to pull them out, if you either have a good nail or a tweezer, you just pull a bunch of them out and then you keep going. They never actually hurt. Once you pull them out, you'll feel them when they're in there. Once you pull them out, they're usually fine. It's kind of like acupuncture in a weird sense. It's also something I've noticed in studying reflexology. You know, your foot, the whole body is mapped out on the foot. So like here, this is like your neck, and this is your head, sinuses, and it keeps going down. And what's kind of cool when you're going barefoot is that you're hitting all these pressure points. So I don't feel like I really need much reflexology, because reflexology for me is like running barefoot on the trails. Every step is different. It's different on pavement. That's a whole other story. I do talk more about that in my book. If you're interested in learning how to run barefoot, pavement, beach, trails, wherever, I do share more about that. Again, free link in the bio. But yeah, the other thing to really remember just overall is, you know, take care of your feet, love on your feet, and be more aware. It's like when I'm like, every step that I take, I feel, so I'm completely aware. It becomes like a different reality where you're walking and you're noticing everything. So you tend to slow down. You might not be able to keep up with your friends that are wearing shoes or wearing hiking boots or something. And it might seem like, oh, well, that's a disadvantage. And maybe in some ways, in like a survival situation, it might have its disadvantages. But I think to me, the major advantage is actually slowing down and being more present with your surroundings, being more present with your steps, because you're also more likely to step on the wrong thing with a shoe, or, you know, to fall or something, because you're not as grounded to the ground. That's just my own experience. And again, it doesn't happen all at once. You need to take it slow. But another example is like, when I'm walking on the street, I'm the first person to notice glass, because if glass is big enough that it could be a threat, I'm going to see it. If it's small, little tiny shards, it's not going to bother my foot at all. But if it's big enough where it could actually do some damage, I'm going to see it first off. Like a huge chunk of glass or something, I always notice glass first. I always notice anything first, because I'm not just looking down, but I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking all around. So yeah, take care of your feet, love on your feet, free your feet, and see what happens.